I'm meteorologist Nicole Hartford. We begin with Hurricane Ian, still in the Caribbean right now as a Category 2 hurricane. This is currently producing wind speeds, consistent wind speeds up to 100 miles per hour with gusts up to 120 miles per hour. We've seen rapid intensification over the last 24 hours. That means our wind speeds have increased more than 35 miles per hour just in the last 24 hours alone. And you can certainly see that strengthening. There's still not a distinct eye wall within Hurricane Ian, but we're likely to see that over the course of the next day or two as this continues to strengthen. It is moving up towards the north-northwest at 13 miles per hour. The forecast does introduce that possibility of it becoming a major hurricane, likely by tonight or early tomorrow morning as it makes landfall along the western portions of Cuba. That Category 3 hurricane could produce consistent wind speeds up to 120 miles per hour. It will then re-enter into the open water of the Gulf of Mexico, where it continues to rapidly intensify, likely to a Category 4 hurricane. Winds up to about 140 miles per hour. As we get closer to landfall along the state of Florida, our cone of uncertainty becomes a little bit wider. We're certainly starting to see a more likely scenario and really hone in on where the exact landfall would be. But at this point, there are still quite a few locations where we could potentially see landfall, essentially anywhere within that cone of uncertainty. Now, the most likely scenario at this point does include a landfall just north of the Tampa area there. I'm sure you can tell that the hurricane does start to slow down and weaken as it approaches Tampa. So wind speeds may actually start to decrease, but that slower track could result in the heavier, more widespread rain really lingering across the state of Florida by the middle of this week. That landfall potentially would take place into Thursday, maybe even Wednesday night, and then it'll push up towards the north, bringing impacts across North Georgia and the Atlanta area into the end of the week. By that time, though, it will have weakened significantly to a tropical depression. Here's our spaghetti models. As you can tell, they've really spread out as they get closer to landfall, with still a variety of potential locations where we could see that official landfall. So that location will have a big impact on our forecast here in the Atlanta area. Right now, though, some of our forecast models, this is the American and the European, are starting to be in better agreement as far as where that center of circulation with Hurricane Ian will be going. This brings it near Tampa and then essentially just rides up the coast of Florida and eventually up into Georgia, bringing that rainfall to us into Friday or Saturday. Ahead of this, we have a number of hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings, as well as hurricane watches and tropical storm watches in effect for Cuba, and then also for much of the coast of Florida. We've got a few hurricane warnings up towards the Tampa area, and then also a tropical storm watch on the eastern side, the eastern coast of Florida, as Hurricane Ian approaches. We're going to see some storm surge there, major storm surge, as well as potentially some rough surf. And that won't just be across the coast of Florida. We could see that rough surf extend throughout much of the Gulf of Mexico, with typically higher wave heights than usual into Wednesday and Thursday associated with this. Now, our track comes down to exactly where this goes, the impacts we see across the Atlanta area. Typically with these tropical systems, the more impactful area, the more dangerous location is up to the right side of that storm. So in this case, for Hurricane Ian, that would be northeast of the center of circulation. That means that if Hurricane Ian tracks off further towards the west, we'll likely see more rain, stronger winds, potentially even a severe weather or a tornado threat as we move into Friday and Saturday. If Hurricane Ian tracks a little bit further towards the east, it takes an eastward turn up closer to the east coast. That means less rainfall for us and also likely some weaker winds. So we're really going to be honing in on the exact location of Hurricane Ian in the coming days. At this point, though, it does look like we will see rain associated with Hurricane Ian. The big question is just how much. Our rain chances really pick up into Friday and Saturday. We'll see that rainfall moving in by Friday, especially in the afternoon hours. And as far as the timeline goes for right now, it looks like the heaviest rain will come in Friday night and then linger into Saturday. So this could result in multiple days of rainfall potential across North Georgia, with some of that being heavy rainfall and, depending on the location of Ian, maybe even that threat for severe weather.